The virtual campground is a community of RVers. We gather around the campfire to share stories, information, and travel tips that help you on your next adventure. Your camp hosts, Deborah and Barry Benton, are full-time RVers in search of quaint bookstores, cozy coffee shops with great Wi-Fi, and epic photography opportunities, all to share with you. So pull up your chair and join us in the virtual campground. Hello there. Sorry about that. We're early to the party.
Is anybody in there?
I don't know if anybody's
Or is it just
here
us?
Just us.
Just us. We have a sunshine dot right in front of the top of my face.
That's so fun.
That's so fun. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have that. I think the sun is going to be a problem.
You think? No, it's going to go down very soon. The wind might be a bigger issue.
True.
I have that fancy windblown look, like a model.
And let's see. Yeah, if someone can give us a sound check. Looks like there are a few people out there. We're going to talk about Starlink tonight, and good Lord willing, we're running on Starlink, so this will work.
That'd be very embarrassing if we were talking about it and then it just went out.
Right.
That'd be bad.
We never guaranteed Starlink, right?
No.
We're
Starlink
here to give you.
never guaranteed us.
We're here to give you real world
examples.
Yeah.
In live and in person in the wild.
Yeah. So.
Is anybody there? We'll just keep riffing for a while, and then people will eventually show up.
I see a few people there.
You do? Who are they?
I don't know. I can't tell. It didn't tell me.
I do wish it would tell you.
There's some people lurking.
3 people. Who are you? Let us find out.
All right.
Let us hear from you.
Yeah, we're just a hair early. Okay, the Kempers say we sound great.
Like my shirt, Jen? We sound great. I'm taller today. I'm standing on a board so that I'm taller. I'm not normally this tall next to Barry.
Hey, that works. Nothing wrong with that, right?
No, it's kind of nice. Yeah, as the sun goes down, I think y'all will have a really nice view because we have a nice mountain back there, and the sun will go down right behind it. So it should be pretty.
Do you remember the name of the mountain?
I want to say Mount Angela, but I could be wrong.
Let's say that. They're not going to know the difference. That's Mount Angela.
Yeah, I know the ones back there, but y'all can't see those. There's one that looks like Sleeping Lion, and there's Sombrero.
Sombrero Peak?
And that one over there is called Witch's Tit.
Whoa.
Yeah, well,
Don't say that on our channel.
I can say that. Can I say that? It's not a 4-letter word.
Got kids watching.
We don't. I don't think we've ever had a kid watching.
I have to mark this not safe for work.
Not safe for work.
What is that? NSFW?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
All right. So let's see. It is, what time is it? 6:50. I can't even read
6:56. We still have
It's
4 minutes.
so bright. So Kempers, what are you up to? Bought any properties lately? Let's see.
So for those people just joining, the Kempers recently purchased some land in, is it officially Fredericksburg or is it Lukenbach? Yep. We are still in the Big Bend area. We are north of Terlinga, south of Alpine, quite a bit south of Alpine. About 20 miles north of Terlingua, probably. And Studi Butte. That's a hard thing to say. Try that.
Not too far from Terlingua Ranch.
Yeah, that's that direction.
Yeah.
And Terlingua is that direction.
It's lovely out here. I mean, this is our view of the mountain that you really can't see.
2 nights ago, we had this place to ourselves. Now we have a few neighbors. They're relatively quiet though, so it's all good.
Yeah, they haven't.
And we have other neighbors. We have a rooster that likes to crow about 5:30 in the morning, and a couple of burros that like to make whatever sound burros make. What do you call it? Neighing? Hee-hawing?
Yeah, I don't think it's a neigh. That's definitely a horse. What does a burro do? What sound does a burro make?
It's more of a hee-haw sound, like a donkey. And then she also has multiple ducks and oh my gosh, the biggest turkey.
Oh, turkey. Yeah, no peacock. It's a turkey. I mean,
turkey.
it's in the peacock family.
has a very full bloom.
And she said the owner came by today and said that the turkey went crazy and attacked her.
Oh.
So
he might be Thanksgiving dinner then if he keeps this up.
That's right.
We need to ask her if her ducks are laying any eggs. We like duck eggs. Okay, so officially it is Fredericksburg. Okay, I wondered about that because I know you can see Lukenbach from your backyard.
Well, not technically their backyard, but
the backyard of the place.
From their RV park.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lovely spot. Can't wait to go there. All right. What time?
Do you have an opening date yet? Have they set the date yet? I know they were looking in April, but I don't know.
Mid-April.
I don't know about mid. I don't know.
I wonder how our latency is. All right.
Okay, it's 6:59.
Jen or Shreg, whoever's at the controls there, I'm going to count to 3, and you tell me when you hear it. 1, 2, 3.
You also have to wait for them to type.
Yeah, well, they're pretty fast typers, I think.
Jason!
Yay!
Oh, y'all are in Livingston? Oh, wow. Okay. So Livingston, is that far? How far is that from College Station?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Jason.
Jason, how far is that from College Station? Because I feel like it's down in that direction. But I didn't know y'all were in Livingston right now. That's cool. I saw that you were working on something on your rig the other day on Facebook. And what was the other question I was going to ask you? Oh, I wanted to talk to y'all because I'm going to send you an email because I want to talk to you about something Barb mentioned to me about volunteerism. So wanted to talk about that. Barry is adjusting camera, so now I look shorter again, but that's okay. It's back. Okay. Is it Jason and Barb? Yay! You were supposed to be listening for the 3. So when he said 3, you were supposed to say yes or something. So shall we try it again? 3.
You're supposed to count.
Why? It's just the number 3.
It's more official that way.
An hour southeast of it. Okay. Because you know the Harpers are in College Station now.
Harpers?
Hoppers.
Yeah, Hoppers.
They're buying a house there. And they just became grandparents of Andrew Charles. I cannot pronounce his last name, but his first name is Andrew Charles.
That's a fun name.
Mm-hmm.
It's very regal.
It is. I can't remember now what they told it. I know that they knew it was going to be Andrew. I can't remember the last name, if that comes from the grandfather's name. I'm not sure. But of course, we love the name Andrew.
Yep.
Our oldest is named Andrew as well, for those of you that didn't know.
All right. Shall we get rolling? It's 7:01.
7:01. All right.
Welcome to the virtual campground. We're so glad you are here. Woo, 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 woo.
Where are we?
We're coming to you live from outside of Terlingua. Tin Valley Retro Rentals is a place that has some RV parking spots as well as some vintage RVs, a couple of Airstreams, a Willie Nelson bus, or a bus with Willie Nelson's face painted on it. And there's a yacht way out there in the middle of the desert that you can rent and stay in.
It's called the
Rendezvous.
Rendezvous.
The owner's name is Rhonda, and the owner of the RV park. And so the yacht out there is the Rendezvous.
And it's like, obviously it's in the sand, but they have it set up that has a shark fin and to make it look kind of like you're at the beach.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. We'll have to do, what we need to do is a video so we can show people it.
Yeah.
And we'll do that when we do the video. Would be kind of fun. And that way we can we'll show that as part of our Big Bend extravaganza when we are ready to do that.
That's right. Okay. So let's see. Do we want to talk any news? Do we want to do anything?
Before we get straight into Starlink?
Yeah.
Sure.
We've got a lot of Starlink to cover.
We do have a lot of Starlink.
So what we've learned about it and pros and cons.
First of all, I just want to show this picture. Show the picture from Sierra Nevada. Have y'all seen this? And I don't know how it is where y'all are in Texas, but where we are in Texas, it has actually hit 90. Today was only like 80, but it's been quite warm.
We haven't used this in a while.
Welcome to Deborah's News.
A throwback. But have y'all seen this? This is the Sierra Nevadas. Look at how tall. I know those of you from Wisconsin have shown me pictures of snow mountains, but I think they have that beat. That is just cray.
That is crazy.
That's a picture of Highway 50. And then that's a picture in Yosemite. Yosemite is actually closed until at leat St. Patrick's Day. At this rate, it might be longer.
That's amazing.
That's the men's bathroom. You can't.
How did
you
they
were
get
in there,
or were they stuck in there?
I don't know. Maybe they got stuck in there, crawled into
That's
that little
crazy.
space. Yeah, isn't that nuts?
That is
So
absolutely crazy.
that is not where I want to be.
Mm-mm.
I would like to be colder than I am now, but I don't need to be that cold. So yeah, poor California. Anybody that's watching this now or later from California, I hope that you are warm and not stuck in the snow. If you're stuck in the snow, you should be watching us, because what else you got to do, right? So yes. And then the other big news in RVs was, did you hear that love stops are
Love truck stops?
Yes, Love Truck Stops.
Yes.
Love Stops. I think they're just called Love Stops because the gas stations. They are adding basically RV parks.
We had heard that. We know someone that stayed there. At one of them.
Jamie did, I think.
So you can call and reserve, or reserve online using the app, I believe. And they're just testing them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but yeah, it might be a nice little option.
No, they've got like 29 now that have about 300 and so slots, but they're planning on doubling that. So they'll have 1,000 by the end of the year slots.
That's crazy.
They pull through and back up. Some of them full hookups. Yep. Some of them they're planning on putting in a pickleball court, maybe a basketball court, picnic area. So they are absolutely doing this. And on one of the people that was talking about it, they were mentioning how the pricing was at least $10 less than the nearest campground.
Wow.
So so they should be also kind of affordable. And then for the people that really want to make it affordable, they do have free slots too. So you can boondock there as well.
Yeah. Just don't want to take a slot from the trucker if you can avoid it.
Well, no, but the RV parks are away from the trucks.
I know, but the free stuff. Yeah, the free slots.
I don't know if those are still. I think some of them might be in the RV parks, from what I was reading. But I could be wrong there. Don't
Very cool.
me.
That's different.
But yeah, it's kind of nice, but away from the trucks, so you don't have all that noise.
Yeah.
So that might be a great alternative. Better than a Cracker Barrel, maybe.
Yep.
Depending on where you are. So that's kind of cool. Sad news in the Love Truck world. Tom Love died.
Oh no.
I know. Co-founder of Love Truck. So moment of silence for Mr. Love.
Paul in Fort Worth.
That's a private joke that nobody else got. But that's okay. And then the other news in RV world, you might be actually able to one day afford or have a Porsche.
Yeah,
Barry's dream was to have a Porsche by the time he was 30. Yeah. Did not make that.
So they've come out with a new line of trailers
with Airstream.
Yeah.
And they are, you can change that back around to be, of course, a bed or a table or a number of things. The top pops up so it's a little bit taller for people that want to stand up in the little trailer. And it's much more aerodynamic so that it can travel down the road, because it is created to be able to be pulled by electric cars.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
So very light. This is a Porsche Cayenne. Looks like that's pulling
it.
At least in the marketing.
Yes.
Now, as I was going down this rabbit trail, I ran across. That's more of the style.
Oh, I can't imagine. Yes, that might be what you want, but that is probably not what you're going to get. Not going to get the other one either, probably either, but that's okay.
Just got to get it lifted and get some big tires on it so we can take it off road.
The other big news in RV world, Harvest Host. Going international.
Right.
Harvest Host is now teamed up with Brit Stops, I believe it's called. Brit Stops.
I think so.
And it's about 1,000 spots in the United Kingdom that you can Harvest Host at. It was founded around the same time as Harvest Host, so they've been kind of growing alongside each other. Now they've decided to merge. You just have to pay for the book that lists all the places that you can Harvest Host at. It's about $33, $35, depending on the exchange rate. And then you too can take your RV or rent one over there, might be better, to Harvest Host all across the United Kingdom. That's kind of cool.
That'd be very cool.
So that is Deborah's news for today.
All right. That is awesome. We haven't done that in a while.
No, we haven't. Hi, Margie, by the way.
Okay, so we stayed in one. Oh, in
the Love
in the Love truck stops? Okay, cool. Well, how was it? Did you like it? Was it a good experience? Were you right next to the trucks? Tell us all about it. Okay, so we
So we're
wanted
gonna
to
start
talk about
about
Starlink.
Starlink.
Okay, so we've had for a little over a year
Mm-hmm.
Starlink, and we got it mostly to test because we weren't sure. I mean, it's still trying to figure out what Starlink is going to be when it grows up. But we wanted to get it for a test and to have it as a backup in case our AT&T didn't work. So I did a short series of videos. Do we want to launch right into it?
Yeah, we'll launch the first one and then we'll come back and have a chat. And of course, we're in the chat. If you guys have any questions during the video, please put it in or comment for those of you that, especially those of you that use it as well.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome to the virtual campground. We're going to talk a little bit about Starlink. We've had it for a few months now, and we're going to talk about, just to give you an overview of it and some of the lessons we've learned and a quick overview of what Starlink is all about. So buckle up and let's go, because one of the things that's constant about Starlink has been change. We've seen several changes since we've got the dish, and they just went through another pricing and services change. So Elon Musk buys completely into the Jack Welch philosophy of change before you have to. So there are 6 options on their website, but only one of them really applies to us. But they're residential, business, roam, aviation, maritime, Internet of Things. So all we care about really is roam, and that's the new RV related option. So what are the basics? It's a low Earth orbit satellite, 341 miles, as opposed to normal satellites being as much as 12,000 to 21,000. So a lot of that means those satellites are much closer to the Earth, and that data is passing much quicker. They were designed flatter, so you can get more payload up into the air with each rocket. So that helps get those satellites up there quicker. Each has avoidance capability, collision avoidance. So that's going to help with all the space trash that's up there, asteroids, the Jetsons, if they run into the Jetsons. And it was designed specifically to keep an eye out for the international space stations. There are 2 of them, I believe, in orbit, and so they're specifically programmed to keep an eye on those, so that if they come near them, then they program themselves to get out of the way to make sure that they don't run into those. And then they do use krypton, not kryptonite. I was disappointed to hear that they weren't using actual kryptonite, but krypton, as it turns out, is an actual element that can be used for propulsion, and so that's what they're using. And they have now more than 1 million users, and I'll talk a little bit about the service degradation that's happened over the 6 months or so since we've been using it, and it's because so many people have adopted the technology and are using it. According to Elon, they're still losing money. Take that for what it's worth. I think he has plenty to spare at this point, but another interesting fact is they're still spending around $20 million a month for service to the Ukraine. So that's an interesting thought, just to help to support Ukraine during the war. 3,580 satellites are currently in orbit, and they have plans for 12,000 total. But they have a license to get as many as 42,000 up in the air. So that's going to be pretty incredible if they get to that point. Planned launches. So let's talk a little bit about their launches, just for the geeks in the audience. You can go to rocketlaunch.live. The URL's there if you want to pause this, and you can actually see when the rockets are going to launch. I've seen several people that have posted about going to watch the launches. They're happening so frequently that you can go out there and hang out for a couple of weeks and see a launch or two. It'd be kind of fun. And then let's get back over to the program here. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your options and some of the services. But before we do that, let's take a quick break. All right.
So that's a lot of numbers.
A lot of numbers. How many satellites are currently in orbit?
A lot. Over 30,000.
3,580, I think I said. Yeah, so a lot of them.
3,500 or 35,000?
3,500.
Okay, 35,000.
And then 12,000 are planned, but they have a license to do as many as 42,000, I think. So.
Yeah, that's where I got the 42,000. So
Ooh,
how is that going to affect? Yeah, how is that going to affect the stars. I mean, like, is that what I'm going to see at night when I
No,
look up in the sky?
one thing that I didn't put in that introductory video was that they do have a special coating on them to try to reduce the noise pollution or the light pollution in the sky. So they're trying to do what they can to avoid. But do you remember when we were in Yosemite?
Mm-hmm.
So we were in Yosemite, pitch black, and it was just gorgeous. And we saw this string of lights, like a pearl necklace up in the sky,
going very vertically.
That was one of the newer launches, and they were just getting into orbit. They hadn't made it all the way into orbit yet. So that was one of the Starlink launches.
Yeah, it was a crazy thing to see. It was like all of a sudden, just a string of lights going straight up and then arcing kind of over us, and made you kind of think we are not alone in the world, in the universe.
All right, should we go to 2?
Let's go.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're going to go through the options for Roam, just to talk a little bit about that. Starlink RVs is now Roam. So if you were looking at the service in the past, there's only one option for people that are nomadic. And that could be whether you're nomadic for a short period of time, or you're full-timers, or you're part-timers, weekenders, or whatever. It's $5.99 for the hardware, $150 a month for regional. And regional just means the continent that you are in. So pretty loose definition of region. And then $200 a month if you want to go global. It is a pay-as-you-go system. So you can pause for a month at a time. And this means that if you are a weekender, full-time, part-timer, regardless, or a full-timer, and you are going to be a couple of months out boondocking or doing whatever, and you're not going to need the service, then you can pause it and then just pick it right back up, and you won't get charged that $150 a month or $200 a month for your service. So that's a nice add-on. Now, just as an aside, if you are on an older plan like we are, you have to be really careful about doing this, because if you do pause it, there's no guarantee that if you try to resume and you're in an area that's congested and does not have availability, then you won't be able to reactivate your service until you get someplace where you can activate it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about it is designed to be on the go. Unpack, use, repack, repeat. So you set it up, use it, pack it up, move to your next spot, use it some more. This is all you get in the box. It is the satellite dish, the power supply, and the router all built into one, and then the stand and the 75-foot cord, which is kind of nice. There is another option for Roam, and that is Roam in Motion. And this is a permanently mounted dish that's on your vehicle. It's on a platform that's at an 8-degree slant that allows for water to run off. And it is, like I said, a permanent mount flat on the vehicle, enhanced GPS capabilities. So that's a nice feature. And that it also is nice that it has 35% more satellite coverage. So it's getting a wider view of the sky. Has better snow melt capabilities for those of you that want to go camp in the snow. However, it is $2,500 for the hardware. So you're paying for that upgraded technology. And then $150 a month for regional and $200 for global, just like the regular Roam. So a nice little option for those that you want to have permanently mounted to your vehicle. The downside of that is if you want to go park out in the middle of the woods under trees, your rig is not your Starlink is not going to see the satellites, so you're not going to have use for that. It's one of the nice things about having the standalone Starlink dish. You can just take it out, move it out to where there are no trees, hopefully with the 75-foot cord, or you can purchase an extension cord from Starlink to get even further out. All right, so let's talk about your service levels. But before we do that, let's have a quick break. Yes, Jason, you can work through trees. We've had mixed results with that.
It goes in and out.
It just depends on how
big the trees are.
Yeah, how big the trees are, what kind of coverage. But yeah, for email, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. But yeah, we use it mostly for conference calls, and then occasionally for streaming.
But even when
TV.
Yeah, we don't stream very often. But when you've been working, and then I'm trying to do email and just things on the computer, it'll start lagging and then get really slow, and it'll go in and out because the direction of the satellite is the way I understand it, and the tree shadow or whatever.
Trees,
So
yeah.
that can be. So it becomes, it used to be that I was seeking trees for RV spots. Now I'm seeking no trees for
This is
RV spots.
perfect.
Yeah, this is lovely. There couldn't have been trees here if we wanted to, but there's a nice breeze.
There is someone that has a Starlink dish mounted on a pole above their RV right over here. And I want to go ask them if they're getting better service than we are, since theirs is about 10 feet higher than ours, a little closer to the satellite.
But you did have it on the rig roof at one point. Was it better
Yeah.
service?
No, I had it on the roof there because that was one of those, that was in Galveston, and we were so close to our neighbor that I wanted to get it above the neighbor, so the neighbor wasn't blocking.
I see. But that was also a problem.
That was also a problem because it blew off the roof. Yeah, so you've got to watch. These things are, I mean, they're kind of heavy, but they're not heavy enough for big time winds.
And then how long does it take you to set it up when we get here?
Not long at all, about 10, 15 minutes at the most. Yeah, it's really quick. One thing I didn't mention in the videos, and we're actually using the box now, but it's a Husky 22 gallon, I think.
You can get it at Home Depot.
12 gallon. The Husky 12 gallon box from Home Depot, I believe, maybe Lowe's carries them, one of those big box retailers, but it's perfect for, I bought some foam from Hobby Lobby, put the foam in, put the dish in this Husky box, and fits really nicely. So the dish, the stand, and the cord, and if I want, the router can go in there as well, but I typically just leave the router in the house.
And then, so the router was left in the house, and we just pull the slide in a little bit. Before the slide goes all the way out, we leave it so you can snake the cord through, so that it can then hook up to this dish.
Yeah, we have our router inside the rig. The campers, and I've read a lot of people will put it in the bay and the cargo bays below their living area, and it's got enough reach that it works fine.
Okay, you can go through the metal of the RV.
Apparently so.
Interesting.
Yep.
But yet trees bother it.
Yeah, well, you're talking about two different things. That needs no trees. That doesn't matter.
Oh, the router. Okay,
router.
You're right. Okay, I was getting those mixed up. Is that called a dish?
That's the dish. Yeah.
It's over there, obviously.
Dish, yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. Shall we go to the next one?
Sure.
Okay. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back. So the service levels are pretty controversial. There's lots of information on their website, so you just really have to take your time and read through all that. But just some of the highlights: it is a best effort service for Rome. So if you're in a congested area, you will be deprioritized, or there's a good chance you will be deprioritized for the people that are in the residential plans. You can look at the Starlink map to find out if your travel path or where you're planning on camping for a week or two or whatever is in a congested area. And that Starlink map will look something like this. As you can see, the whole eastern half of the United States is covered. The fun parts of Colorado are covered up. California and into Oregon are covered up. So just have to look at this and see if you're going to be at a congested area, and that's going to give you some indication as how useful Starlink's going to be when you are there. Data restrictions: there is a fair use policy on their website. So if you Google Starlink fair use policy, you will find that. That's pretty dry reading, but it's really important. If you are seriously considering making this investment, you'll want to read that to make sure you understand what you're getting into. And then the performance per plan. They do have on their website, if you Google performance per plan or go to this document here, it's in their legal section. So if you go to starlink.com/legal, you'll probably find it, or you can just Google performance for mobile service plans for Starlink, then you may find it. If you want to pause here and copy down this URL, you can do that. But it's going to give you what they say are the rated performance plans for their different services. And as you can see here, best effort RV is 5 to 50 and 2 to 10 for upload. So they're laying it right there on the line that you're not going to get amazing service through the Starlink sometimes. There's a potential for that. All right. So What else? All right. So the best effort speeds expected when using basic access in congested areas. So again, if you're in an area that has limited capabilities or that's congested, you may experience lower speeds. Um, there was a report in Business Insider last December that just talked about how the service is degraded. When people first started getting on Starlink, service was great. Then it started to go down. There was 110 megabits per second the last quarter of 2021, and now it's down to 50 megabits per second on average. So the Starlink kit and services are novel. I thought that was very candid of them to put that out there. They're novel, under development, and subject to change. So, kind of fun. All right, let's talk about the apps. So, there is an app that comes with Starlink that allows you to operate it, control it. Let's take a look at the Starlink app. I'm going to go to that. All right, so this just shows you a little bit about what's the Starlink app is capable of. You can do speed tests within it. You can do a simple one like this one is showing, and then you can do it more advanced. So this is a great example. We're out in the middle of nowhere, Terlingua, Texas, near Big Bend. We have no cell service, and we're getting 51 megabits per second download speed and somewhere around 1920 upload speed. Now that's the basic speed test from Starlink. So if you go to their advanced test, which you can see there at the bottom of the screen, that's going to test two components of the system. That's going to test the speed from your router out to the internet. So how fast is that data moving from the satellite, from your router to the satellite and back? And then the other component you can see on the left side is going to be what's the actual speed of your devices in your home out to the router. So that'll give you a sense of, some people put this in their cargo bays underneath their rig or somewhere other than inside the rig. Then this will give you a sense of what that speed is between your power supply or your router and your devices that you're trying to use the internet. So as you can see here, we're really close to our router, so we're getting dynamite speed. So it's irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. So 549 megabits per second from my iPhone to the router. All right. What else is on here? So this is the speed test app from Ookla. It's my go-to for testing speeds once we get set up. And as you can see here, it's also getting some pretty blazing fast internet speeds for download. It's going to taper back just a little bit. So 55.1 download, not too bad. And here the upload's going to taper quite a bit. So it bounced up there almost to 20, and now it's coming down. It's settling down now, and we're close to 9 and 10. So it does vary based on a lot of factors, including what visibility you have in your location and what congestion is there. So the Starlink app also gives you some, tells you what's running on the Starlink as far as what devices are attaching to it. This is pretty cool. You can see obstructions. It takes a little while to build this, sometimes overnight, and you can see, are there trees obstructing you? And then you can move the dish if you need to move it to get a more clear view of the sky. It'll show you uptime, latency, throughput, so you can get a sense of how your dish is performing. It'll show your outages for 5 seconds, 2 seconds, and 0.1 seconds and above, so you can see what kinds of issues you're having. Like I said, we've been running out here in the middle of Terlingua, and we've been doing conference calls, and have been performing just fine. And then the last part is just giving you the ability to set up a sleep timer, so it goes to sleep at night, turn on snow melt and those kinds of things. So some nice basic capabilities through the app itself. All right, so there's a couple of other apps I wanted to show you. One is called Starlink Watch app. So if you go to your iTunes app store or Android and Google Starlink Watch app, you'll most likely find this. I wanted to show you just a little bit about that. What this is showing is all of the deployed Starlink satellites. And these that are all in a line haven't been fully deployed yet, so they're still getting up to altitude. And then once they get up to altitude, they'll all fall into the pattern that they're assigned to. So pretty cool to see that. We saw that over Yosemite. Pretty cool deal. I'll explain more than what I mean by that later. Here's good old America, and you can see there's something that looks like a duck there. That's actually one of the International Space Stations, so you can click on that, see a little bit of data about how high that is, and a little bit of details about the International Space Station. So let's click out of that and zoom back out. Let's go find us around Terlingua, about Big Bend National Park. So we'll zoom in down to South Texas, and you can see all the satellites that are roaming around nearby. There are a couple about near us, and you can also see a ground station. That one right in the middle there is a ground station, which the satellites are communicating with. And so that one's not too far from us, has 8 antennas. The antenna diameter is 5 feet, etc., etc. All right, so I allowed the app to see our location, and so now it's found us. So it's located where we are, and as you can see, it's got lines drawn to the satellites that we're actually connected to. So right now we're connected to those satellites, and you can see as the satellites move and some get out of range, then we'll lose some. As some come into range, we'll pick some up. You can see there's some satellites off to the left there, moving right in over on top of us, so we'll pick those up in a minute. So pretty cool way to see what's happening with your coverage in your specific area. What else do we have to show you? All right, so let's talk a little bit about some add-ons, accessories. The Starlink router does not have an Ethernet port. So if you have anything like we have a network accessible hard drives that needs an Ethernet connection to our router. So we had to buy this Ethernet adapter, and we connect that to our Starlink router, and then that enables us to connect to our hard drive, to where we have all of our videos and photos stored. If you're trying to use a different router, or you have a mesh router where you're trying to extend the range of your Starlink router, then you'll need to pick up this Ethernet adapter. The other thing we added on was a pipe adapter. This is a 2.5-inch adapter, and what we did with that is we built, with Greg Kemper's help, we built essentially a flagpole made out of 2-foot PVC pieces, 2-inch round, and extends up about 8-10 feet or so. And then I put this adapter on top of it that connects to the Starlink dish, and then I'm able to get a little bit of height on the dish to get it out above some local obstructions that may be keeping us from getting the best signals we can get. We can use the magnets from Techno RV to attach it to the rig, or we can use bungee cords and attach it to the back of our rig with where the ladder is. So it gives us a few options there to get the dish just a little bit higher. Before we get into takeaways, let's take a little bit of a break, and we'll be right back. That's very true, Johnny. Very true.
He said Ethernets were 2020, but so am I. So I'm not quite sure I'm ready for Elon and all he has to offer us.
I'm more 1980s, really.
It's probably true too. Though you can do really well. You understand all what you just said. So I'm not sure I do.
So we've got the sun behind the clouds now, and it's dropped about 20 degrees.
Not quite 20, but it did drop, and the wind picked up. So that's my jacket. So that, I had a question for you, but now of course I've forgotten it. But
Dishy.
Oh,
don't call it dishy.
So you have an app where we can look up at the sky and see the star constellation.
Sky Guide.
Yeah, Sky Guide. And sometimes it shows satellites. Are those Starlink satellites or just NORAD, do you think?
I'm not sure about NORAD, but it is. I don't know if they show Starlink, but it shows
satellites with numbers on it.
It shows satellites that are out there, but I don't know if they have Starlink's on there. That's a good question. We'd have to look at that.
Okay.
It has the International Space Station, other satellites, and of course all the stars and constellations. It'll also show your rocket launches if so it's kind of fun.
So today I was reading something about Starlink. They have something, they're going to Congress to talk about something smaller and better for our viewers.
So
she says with a lot of questions.
They have a license to test a smaller dish. That seems to be the major difference. There may be some technological differences. I didn't read that much about it, but it is a smaller form factor for the dish,
So
whereas
easier to transport.
ours is larger than a large laptop. It's about 20 inches by 12 or so inches. The new one's going to be about 11 or 12 inches by 9 inches, somewhere in that range. So considerably smaller and easier to transport.
And will that make it any less powerful?
I don't think it's going to be, I don't think anything would get less powerful. I don't think they would put anything out there that would be less capable. I think it's going to be as or more capable.
Got it. All right. So all of this, plus we have, of course, our AT&T
Yes.
hotspot and Web Booster and Nemo or Timo or somebody. And so what, after all of this and a year of this, what do you suggest to people?
Well, I'll talk a little bit here in that wrap up. That'll be the next final video. That'll be pretty short, but ultimately Starlink is an amazing backup plan.
Backup plan.
It's
Okay.
not, I would never recommend it to be a primary source for internet. Unless you know you're going to boondock all the time away from a lot of people. Johnny brought up, was it Johnny? No, Jason brought up a good point about the ground stations. So the satellites are communicating. Ultimately, a ground station somewhere near you is receiving the signal and sending it to you. So it those things get overwhelmed. So there are a lot of factors that just make it a little too imperfect to be your main source if you rely on it day to day.
I didn't say Nemo, did I?
Oh,
Maybe I
said Mimo.
Mimo.
Yeah. She said Mimo. Yeah, but Mimo's a fine name for a fish, as well as Nemo.
All right, so why don't you roll that last, and then we'll come back and wrap up.
All right, and I'm going to go get a sweatshirt. Let's get into the final takeaways. It's spendy. It's a little bit pricey. It's I'm not going to lie to you. If you're doing this, it's not going to be your cheapest alternative for getting Wi-Fi on the road. It's not going to be good as your cell phone based Wi-Fi hotspot providers. Your AT&T, Nighthawks, and other similar hotspots. If you've got one of those and you've got a good plan on those are going to give you more consistent coverage. On the other hand, in situations like this where you're not going to have any cell coverage at all, regardless of the plan you're on, then it is a great alternative. It's a good backup plan. So when we get into spots where our AT&T coverage is really light, then I get this dish out and I try to find a good place with limited tree coverage and try to use it as our backup plan. The cable's 75 feet, so that's really nice. Gives you some flexibility. If you don't park too close into the trees, then you can hopefully get your dish a little further out and give you some coverage. Like I said, it's a good second or third backup plan. If you're looking for that, then do it. I highly recommend it if you don't mind spending the money. Be careful putting it on the roof. I'll tell you that story some other time. All right. Thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your time and attention. If you have any questions, please post those in the comments. Be glad to help you any way we can. And thanks for being part of the virtual campground. Until we see you again in person, see you in the virtual campground.
All right. So a good backup. Some people, like the campers, use it as their primary, which that works for you guys. That's great.
They're risk takers, though. They're crazy.
Because we did find that it was harder when we were closer to big cities, right? Because they were
much more congested. Like that map I showed on one of the series, a lot of places out east just have so much congestion. It is more difficult in those areas.
And then Margie wanted to know if the weather affects it, which we have seen, like on really heavy clouds. Not just a sort of cloudy day, but a heavy cloud day.
I haven't noticed on heavy clouds, but when it starts raining, it definitely, rain, a fairly moderate rain to heavy rain, thunderstorm will definitely cause issues, or at least it has with us.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen that. So
it's the same with our dish we had at home for DirecTV. Whenever we'd get a big storm.
Never mind if you were trying to watch a movie. It was done. Yeah, that's very, very, very true. Very true. And then the other thing we've been seeing, and I know this is not new, and in fact, I think the campers had it at one time, is this Nomad pack thing.
Oh, Nomad Internet is just a third-party provider that sources cellular-based internet from AT&T, Sprint, the four major carriers. I think there's one of them they don't do anymore, but what you're doing there is you're relying on that third-party provider to have a contract with the Wi-Fi, with the cell service provider, and they provide you with the hotspot for internet. And so that can be a little dicey. It works really well for some people, but there's been a lot of controversy in that AT&T, I can't remember if it was AT&T, but somebody went to Nomad Internet and just cut off all their licenses. And so all the people that had those were left without any coverage. So it can be a little bit of a risk.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it seems like right now they're making a big push with RVers. We've seen several influential RVers start to promote it in a more commercially way, saying they're using it and they love it, but still it seems to be that they're very targeting some RVing.
Yeah, and we will not be one of those.
No, well, no. And then the other thing is, if people had more questions about Starlink, obviously, because we're users, you're happy to reach out to you.
I'd rather not talk to anybody.
Yeah, well, that's always true. He doesn't talk to me either. Please come talk to me. But
yeah, happy to answer any questions.
And then the other, who is that couple that there's
Technomadia.
Yeah,
that's a great point. Glad you brought that up. So
they have another name now, but we always know them as Technomadia.
Yeah, Technomadia. Oh, somebody help me in the chat. They have another name, but mobile internet, something like that. Anyway, they are okay. Yeah. So okay, that's what it was. AT&T plan with mobile must-haves, and they lost the contract. Yeah. So Technomadia has a ton of information about Starlink, and so and they do fantastic work. So I would highly recommend, if you're not following them, that you follow them. You can get a bunch of information for free. We sign up for their insider program or whatever they call it, and we get a little bit more. But it's even their free stuff is good. And
especially for people that are just starting out and really wanting to figure out the internet situation for themselves, and maybe the puck program we're on isn't available anymore. They're really good at telling you about the newest and latest things to help those people new to getting into this, maybe what should be their first try if Starlink isn't it necessarily.
Exactly.
Good. Okay.
Well, glad you were here, Margie. Glad everyone was here. Anything else we need to cover?
I did want to point out two planning things. One, if you are planning a trip to the Mount Rainier National Park, they are starting in May, only going to take cash.
Oh.
Or no, they're not taking cash. That's it. Not taking cash.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now
that would make more sense. I think we're going to a paperless society.
Yeah, cashless. That's it. Cashless. So you either have to be cashless, have some way of paying it, or you can also do like a token card. And then also planning way far ahead, April 14th, 2024 is when that big lunar eclipse is. And if you're not making reservations now, you're probably going to be boondocking somewhere to try to see it. The best place to see it, Hill Country of Texas.
Yep.
It's going to be there the longest, like 6 full minutes there, whereas other places it's much shorter.
Who do we know has a spot in the Hill Country?
I don't know anybody in there. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll find somebody. Okay. Well, anything else? You have any questions right now that we could cover? There it is. He's got it. Mobile Internet Resource.
I'll put that out there.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So they're a great resource. And
great
highly
people.
recommend that. Yeah. Nice people.
So,
I think we've answered all the questions here.
Okay. Anybody have an outstanding question, let us know. You can see the sun starting to go down. I think we're going to have a nice sunset tonight.
Yep.
I think we're going to sit out here with our campfire and maybe
Let's
a
get
glass
the fire
of something.
going. That's right.
And enjoy this sunset, because we're only here for 3 more sunsets.
I think so.
And we're going to spend one of them in the park to watch the sunset at over the Santa Elena Canyon.
Yeah. What's that?
Sodal View. The Sodal View.
Yeah, that's so true, Jason. And I mentioned that in the video. They just made a recent change to the pricing and the services. It's a new product, relatively speaking. So we're still sort of on the bleeding edge and things will change. So you just got to know that going into it.
Plus, Elon is such a consistent person.
Yeah, I think we
Likes
will. We
change.
probably will have a cocktail. Although I am going to get up at. We are getting up at 5 a.m.
because
or
we're
so
going to go
to go
into
on a
the
hike
park
tomorrow.
So we went into the park on Saturday to hike this Lost Mine, and the parking lot has like maybe 10 spaces, and it was of course already full at 7:30 we got there. So we're gonna have to go in a little earlier. It is spring break here in Texas, so we're finding this week the park got a little fuller than we had it last week. We didn't really think about spring break now that we don't have kids in spring breaks.
That's right.
So but anyway, so we'll take a picture of the sunset for those of you that are gonna miss out on seeing it, and post it if it turns out pretty well. So you can see it on my Instagram, the virtual campground Instagram, of course. What else? Please make sure to like this video, leave a comment to help other people that find it later, and encourage your friends to come watch and see it. We'd appreciate anything you can do to help us grow the virtual campground. So.
Thanks for being here. Until we can see you in person sometime, we'll see you in the virtual campground.
Bye-bye. See you around the campfire.